No, if I can't ask my question freely and you want to muzzle me, you can keep your meat by yourself. You want to muzzle me and your rulings are what I call it. You feel it with no basis.
Very well.
You want to keep the truth from Jamaica, and I'm not going to be a part of anything that you're trying to stifle the truth. Jamaica must know we have dealing with these sensitive areas. You're telling me about the decorum and respect.
Thank you very much.
I asked the question very decently, and no rock so tell me about the decorum and respect. I'm trying to get the truth from. So is that disrespect? It seems you want to encourage all form of things, and that's wrong, and it must be exposed. I'm not going to be a party to anything that trample the truth. Jamaica should know. You can keep your committee by yourself.
Yeah, so after you know, boss, what do you think about the whole situation with the Chinese in Montego Bay not getting paid?
We don't know that no right, you know. Because Father God said, by the sweat of your brow, you shall eat bread. Yeah. So for the man work, man, whether you want black or white or pink or shiny or what, you have a PM, that is no joke. What kind of business that? Arms house business that? No man no like that. The black man who no take that. So, see like what the China man not take that.
Okay, so what do you think as the contractor for them so long?
Sometimes some of them contractors, you know, they have to wait on the bigger heads to collect. And sometimes some of them can collect and go around the thing too. And sometimes they have to wait on the bigger heads to collect, for pay. And sometimes you have to have faith too. Because a whole lot of things are going in the business and industry with the workmanship. So most time a man have to wait for a man to deal with a matter. But sometimes a two sides of the shilling. Sometimes a man a go around thing too. One could do things. Yeah. So you have to look into things and have faith. So all them have to do just go and watch and easy themselves. But when a man work, he forget pay.
So do you feel Jamaican officials involved or rob up some money or something like that? Do you think they are involved?
Well, they don't know, you know. I whole heap of tricks in trade are going on. I really couldn't say that. Still, but I know some things are going on earth, whole heap of generalship with the bigger heads them. But at the same time, I can't say that still. You understand?
I feel that will send a bad signal to China, you know, and then China not want to be in any partnership with Jamaica.
Well, yeah, that is an example with the China them. It's an example. And they must say blah blah boom boom boom. Boy, I not come to certain things because it's a problem. Well, it go for any man too, as I tell you. As soon as bad car I work, a man go feel away. I them talk them again.
Okay, so you still think that them will take that into consideration and stop develop Jamaica? How would that manage if Chinese decides them they're gonna back out and not help us?
Right now, Jamaica would have done it because you up now. Enough China build up that country, you know. Right? Enough China, I love them because a whole heap of black people who used to go on the place and idle, they make a do certain thing and I work and achieve, could I send all them youth at school and look about them youth. So right now, they have to deal with the China them right because them build up Jamaica a lot. I not go really deal with no color privilege. I deal with equal right and justice. Deal with the man them right. So I saw me talk. Respect.
Former Miss Universe Jamaica contestant Tyra Spalding found dead in suspected suicide. Police are investigating the suspected suicide of 26-year-old accountant and former Miss Universe Jamaica contestant Tyra Spalding, whose body was discovered at her home on Tuesday evening. The Jamaica Constabulary Forces Corporate Communications Network, CCN, confirmed that Spalding was found around 6:55 p.m. with a curtain around her neck. Relatives reportedly made the discovery and alerted authorities. Spalding competed in the 2023 Miss Universe Jamaica pageant and was known for her advocacy on mental health and suicide prevention. Friends and colleagues told local media they had grown concerned in recent weeks after a series of troubling social media posts. In an August 15th Instagram post, Spalding wrote that she was going through hell. 2 weeks ago, she posted a video on her YouTube channel titled "Don't Be Sad," in which she described daily battles with suicidal thoughts. "I'm fighting for my life. My mind is trying to kill me," she said in the video, adding that part of her wanted to live while another part wanted to die. Her death comes as Jamaica grapples with a steady rise in suicide cases, according to Jamaica Constabulary Force data cited by the Jamaica Observer. The country recorded 67 suicide deaths in 2024, the highest total in nearly 25 years. The numbers have climbed for 4 consecutive years. Up from 43 in 2020, men make up the vast majority of victims. Of the 67 deaths last year, 61 were men, while Jamaica's suicide rate, estimated at roughly 2.1 to 2.4 per 100,000 people, remains below the global average of about 9 per 100,000. Health officials warn that the upward trend is troubling. Surveys show nearly 1 in 4 Jamaican teenagers has seriously considered suicide. Authorities continue to probe Spalding's death. If you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts, help is available. Call the Mental Health and Suicide Prevention Helpline at 888 New Life 639 5433. The Safe Spot Initiative at 888-723-3776 or WhatsApp 876-439-5199 or the YouMatter chat line at 876-838-4897. The CPFSA Child Protection Hotline can also be reached at 211. Michael Gayle, a young mentally ill man, was beaten to the point of death by at least 14 members of the security forces, soldiers, and police on the 21st of August 1999. He was detained at a roadblock in Kingston following the imposition of a curfew in Olympic Gardens. Nearly 2 years later, the authorities have yet to charge or discipline anyone in connection with the killing. According to Michael Gayle's account of the incident, given before he died 2 days later, police and army officers had attacked him, kicking him in the back and hitting him with batons and gun butts after he was refused permission to cross the security barrier. An inquest jury in December 1999 returned a verdict of manslaughter, finding that Gayle was excessively beaten by joint security forces and recommending that all army and police personnel manning the roadblock that night be charged. On the 14th of March 2000, the DPP announced that he did not intend to file charges against any of the security officers present at the roadblock on the grounds that, based on the available evidence, he was unable to identify or bring a charge against those individuals who caused the death. The investigation was subsequently reopened after a request from the Minister for National Security and Justice to the Commissioner of Police. In a statement to Parliament on 14 March 2000, the Minister stated that, whatever the legal niceties are, the public dissatisfaction is real. The DPP was unable to give an estimate of when the investigations would be completed, and it is further understood that the reopened police inquiry recommended closure of the case. Due to lack of evidence, investigation, and prosecution of abuses, the authorities in Jamaica have consistently failed to hold to account those responsible for human rights violations. The vast majority of incidents are not investigated promptly, thoroughly, and impartially as required by international standards. Although there are well-developed institutional mechanisms to investigate alleged abuses, these are not working in practice. International standards on investigations, deaths, international standards, including Principle 9 of the Principles on the Effective Prevention and Investigation of Extralegal, Arbitrary and Summary Executions, provide that when there is a death in disputed circumstances involving the use of force by law enforcement officials, authorities are required to initiate an independent and impartial investigation. Investigations should examine, among other things, whether the use of force by law enforcement officials was in accordance with the UN Basic Principles on the use of force and firearms by law enforcement officials. The purpose of such investigations is to determine the cause, manner and time of death, the person responsible, and any pattern or practice which may have brought about that death. Investigations must include an adequate autopsy, collection and analysis of all physical and documentary evidence, and statements from witnesses. Human rights abuses. International human rights standards provide that governments are to maintain investigative offices to undertake inquiries into allegations of human rights abuse. Investigators must have all the necessary budgetary and technical resources for effective investigation, and must be granted with the authority to obtain all the information necessary to the inquiry, to oblige officials allegedly involved and witnesses to appear and testify, and to demand the production of evidence. Written reports on the methods and findings of such investigations should be made within a reasonable period of time. The report should be made public immediately and should include the scope of the inquiry, procedures and methods used to evaluate evidence, as well as conclusions and recommendations based on findings of fact and on applicable law. Those responsible are to be brought to justice, and victims, their families and dependents granted fair and adequate compensation within a reasonable period of time. Internal investigations into police misconduct. 2 units within the JCF are responsible for investigating alleged abuses by the police. The Bureau of Special Investigations and the Complaints Division within the Office of Professional Responsibility. Both are accountable to the Commissioner of Police. Members of the public may deposit complaints with either unit or with the civilian oversight body, the Police Public Complaints Authority, PPCA. Their completed reports are sent to the Director of Public Prosecutions for a ruling on whether criminal or disciplinary proceedings or a coroner's inquest should follow. Bureau of Special Investigations. The Bureau of Special Investigations, BSI, was established in July 1999 with the intention of taking over investigations of all police shootings from the Office of Professional Responsibility, headed by the Deputy Commissioner of Police. Its officers are intended to work under the close supervision of the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP. Government authorities and the DPP maintain that the speed and quality of investigations has improved since the BSI was established. Amnesty International welcomes efforts to improve the quality of investigations into police shootings. However, investigations are still inadequate in many respects, failing to comply with international standards. Incidents are not investigated promptly, impartially, and thoroughly. It is common for police investigators to arrive at the scene of a shooting after considerable delays of hours, days, or even weeks. Investigators do not always undertake thorough examinations at the scenes of shooting. For example, investigators did not arrive at the scene of the shooting of William Richards in September 2000 for nearly 12 hours. As a result, investigators were unable to collect crucial forensic and ballistic evidence. In the case of Delray Lewis in September 1999, it was reported that investigators only arrived at the scene after 1 week. During their visit, they failed to view the part of the property where the shooting was alleged to have taken place. The head of the BSI has told Amnesty International that lack of resources, including understaffing, is a major factor impeding an adequate response to the volume of complaints. Complaints of police misconduct other than shootings are investigated by the Complaints Division, a unit within the Office of Professional Responsibility. This unit has been repeatedly criticized by human rights organizations, lawyers, and others as lacking impartiality and thoroughness. Public confidence in the complaints process is further undermined by the secrecy of police investigations. Amnesty International has been told by many individuals that investigators had attempted to intimidate them to prevent deposition of complaints. Others have complained that the Office of Professional Responsibility failed to follow procedures in responding to serious complaints. Police investigators frequently lack the specialist training and resources necessary to undertake adequate investigations. For example, the officer leading the police investigation into the death of Michael Gayle had been in the JCF for 19 years, but had no formal training as a detective. The 2 police constables assisting him in his investigations had also not received any training in detective work. Independent civilian oversight. The Police Public Complaints Authority. The Police Public Complaints Authority, PPCA, is an independent civilian monitoring body with final oversight responsibility for the investigation of complaints against the police. Established by law in 1993, it is headed by a retired judge, assisted by a staff of civilian personnel. Its responsibilities include supervising, reviewing, and reporting on investigations by the JCF into all complaints regarding death or serious injury, and others as appropriate. It is also empowered to initiate its own investigations. Any complaint made to the Police Complaints Division must by law be copied to the PPCA. However, there remains a lack of public confidence in the credibility, independence, and transparency of the PPCA, and a widespread belief that the PPCA lacks the political will necessary to confront and challenge impunity. In a period which saw more than 150 fatal police shootings, the major concern cited by the PPCA in its last published annual report was the non-return of detainees' property. Disciplinary and criminal proceedings against officers alleged to have committed abuses are frequently hampered through a lack of evidence, with officers unwilling to provide information. The PPCA has stated that a major factor preventing the full and thorough investigation and supervision of complaints is the failure by police, who are the subject of complaints, to respond promptly to requests for information from the PPCA. Nevertheless, the chairperson of the PPCA informed Amnesty International that the PPCA's powers to search premises or review documents are rarely deployed, and that independent investigations are rarely initiated. He also stated that he was generally satisfied with the quality of police investigations. The PPCA chairman stated in an interview with Amnesty International that he did not consider it appropriate or possible to hold the Jamaican police accountable to the same standards as other countries due to the high level of gun-related crime in the country. Amnesty International is deeply concerned that this suggests that the PPCA is not fully committed to ensuring that internationally agreed minimum standards are adhered to Jamaica, despite the fact that soldiers have been implicated in many serious human rights violations in the context of joint police-army operations. The PPCA has no remit to oversee investigations of complaints against soldiers. The office also suffers from under-resourcing. The PPCA is staffed by just 4 investigators for the whole country. The chairperson acknowledged that in practice, it is difficulty for those outside the areas of Kingston and Montego Bay, where PPCA offices are located, to report complaints, autopsies, and obstruction at post-mortems. One of the major factors prolonging impunity is the inadequacy of forensic investigation into deaths at the hands of the security forces. International standards provide that investigations must include an adequate autopsy, as well as collection and analysis of all physical and documentary evidence and statements from witnesses. Standards governing autopsies into cases of deaths through gunshots are even more specific and detailed. In Jamaica, autopsies frequently fail to conform to an even minimal degree to international standards. A forensic expert, Professor Derek Pounder, reviewed a series of autopsy reports undertaken by state pathologists where there had been disputed accounts of fatal shootings. In each case, he concluded that the autopsies did not constitute autopsies in the normally understood sense of the word, and failed to reach internationally accepted standards for best practice. Every autopsy report lacked basic, essential data. In some cases, the cause of death was not even stated. The autopsy of Sylvester Wint stated only that the body was discovered lying on the ground, suffering from a gunshot wound, with no further information on injuries. In another, that of Rashid Williams, the pathologist failed to fully open the skull, despite the fact that he was shot in the head.
Hot water channel, straight to the max. Bring the thing to the people then. Original generous speak. Same way. Man, big up hot water channel, enough ice cream. Yeah man, big up yourself.